Yeah, okay, so you said something about positive sexual grooming. I'm trying to think that what you mean is probably sexual education.
Yeah.
Paid attention to children and giving them, the education that they need so they are aware of things that are happening around them.
So
all right,
I'm so sorry that came out.
Oh, no. That's fine. Okay, so our conversation this morning is for pedophiles, especially child molesters. Molesters?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Child molesters, those ones that actually carry out the acts, the ones that actually, put children through danger, harm's way, and all of that. Now, how can these kids heal from the situation that they're in at the moment? Because take it or leave it, we have children that are currently in these situations day in, day out, and the parents have no idea what is happening. I mean, we have some cases where the parents know and they're complicit and there's nothing they can do, especially if it is within the family. And you hear people say, oh, it's a family matter, don't judge it, don't do that. We have situations like that, but I don't even want us to delve into that at all. I really do not want us to delve into that. Our conversation this morning is on situations where parents don't even know that this is what is happening to their children, and the kids are there going through this pain day in, day out. It even gets worse when the child doesn't even know that this is what they are going through. They don't know. They think it's normal. Uncle likes me. That's why uncle is showing me pornography. Uncle likes me. That's why uncle is giving me food. Uncle likes me. That's why he's letting me drive his car, take drugs, drink alcohol and everything. So how can they go and become better? How can they heal? What can they do?
How can they become aware?
Yeah, how can they become aware?
Because sometimes some of these children, they are not even aware that this is wrong. That's where sexual education comes in. While preparing, there was a question that popped up: how can children prevent themselves from pedophiles and all of that? I mean, it all still boils down to education. That's why, for example, we always do outreaches. We go out to enlighten these girls on sexual education. We enlighten them on sex, teenage pregnancy, what touch is appropriate, what is not appropriate.
Okay.
So the first step for me will always be education, because like Maya Angelou said, if you know better, if people know better, they will do better.
Yes.
If parents know better, they will do better. I mean, some parents don't even know. They're not properly equipped in terms of, the right information when it comes to. And you think that, this is Lagos, this 21st century, millennials, Gen Z, and all of that. But when you go out to reach out to areas, you find out that, sometimes we see parents even coming to join our outreaches, just to come for the program, they come to sit, they come to learn. When it's time to share sanitary towels, they're there, they want sanitary towels as well. So for me, for young girls that are in this situation, right, from first things first, I think would be education. I think it always starts there. Because if you don't know that someone touching you in a specific way, or older guys being interested in you or making sexual advances towards you, if you don't know that is wrong, so how then do you act? You just really be there and, just keep taking all in, and then you suddenly get to that point where you realize that, oh, this is wrong. And so first things first, will always be education, and then reaching out to opening up to the right people, the right visiting the right organization. So we have, I'm permitted to mention, we have organizations like Mirabel Center, we have the Chichiyara Foundation, we have Warif, we have Hasty Health Initiative, we have the Kayo Initiative as well. So these organizations help, young girls go through this process. They're skilled, they train counselors that even if it's a family matter and they say, no, don't overstep your bounds. They're well trained to be able to effectively rescue these girls from what they're going through, right? And then so the thing about sexual abuse and being in all these situations is that sometimes young girls feel like they can't do it all alone.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you've mentioned that education is a very important. Education has a very important role to play in correcting these notions about pedophilia, child molestation, and whatnot. So, now my question is, as a society, and when I say as a society, I'm talking about schools, I'm talking about religious bodies like the churches, the mosque. I'm talking about families, parents, and for instance, in the United Kingdom, there's something called neighborhood watch, where it's everybody is accountable to everybody in that neighborhood. In our Nigerian society, what can we do, to begin to bring more awareness? I want, further than education, is there anything we can do, maybe from the role of the government, from the role of the schools? What can we do in our society to help curb, these things from happening?
Yeah, so like I would say, in order to correct a vice, all hands have to be on deck. So while we were having our outreaches, we focused on young girls, and then so increasingly, we're beginning to see the need to expand our reach to parents as well.
Okay.
So we can't just go out and you're reaching out to the girls alone. You're telling them this is what you do, this is what you not to do, and then you're leaving the parents out of it. So that has also, motivated us to say, okay, we'd love to have programs for parents. So what I mean by that example is the fact that it takes everybody, the community, the government, law enforcement agents, you have parents, family. Family is, there's a quote that says that, the family is the first point of socialization for the child, right? So it's that environment that has the single, it has the most influence on the child growing up, right? So you move from the family to the school. So for example, schools having these programs to educate young girls. When we go out to reach out to these girls in schools, most of the schools are very welcoming. I remember I went to my younger brother's school, right, the other day, and then the principal was like, oh, are you the one that goes around reaching out to young girls? So why have you not come? They're very welcoming. So having these programs in schools, having trained counselors in school. My alma mater, there's a department, there's a counselor there, properly trained that speaks to children. So schools can begin to put this structure in place, to ensure that young girls, even boys as well, get the help that they need. Because statistics reveal that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls get molested before they're 18. Wow. They experience sexual abuse before, they're 18. 90% of these children know the abuser. 90% of these victims, they know the abuser. And then you'll be shocked to know that 40% of that also, of the abuse is perpetrated by older children. So it's not limited to just young girls. So schools need to put the structure in place with trained, I'm emphasizing trained counselors, trained therapists, because you go and open up to one teacher that is not trained, that is not mature, and then you come to class, they're using your story as an example and what have you. That's wrong.
I understand
that's really wrong. So schools need to put the structure in place, right? And then in Nigeria as a society, we have the Criminal Code Act, and then we have the Child Rights Act of 2003 that, ensures that children are protected, right, from abusers. So it's all teamwork. So, for example, growing up at home, there were just some things that I saw. I knew that, okay, these things are wrong. And times where some certain things would have happened, I can remember my dad and my mom coming to protect me, right? And then so I go into a secondary school where they're teaching me these things. It's a continuous, process. And then before I get into the university, I'm aware that, okay, I'm already self-aware, so as a community, right, these are steps that we can take. Parents in the family, don't just assume that this education will jump on children. There's a book I read, The Niger Parents Guide to Having the Talk or something on sex.
Okay.
Right? And then in that book, you know, the author was teaching parents how to have these conversations with children, the age-appropriate conversations with children. And then there's times where you're with your child, and then child just says something, and then that's like the right moment, you know, to address things. So you watch out for moments like that. So it's a collective, you know, effort.
Okay. So after education, I'm assuming it would spring up awareness. The child is aware that these are the things that I should do or I shouldn't do, and all of that. But then how do they now protect themselves? Because you as a parent, you will not be able to follow your child everywhere. As a guardian, you have sent a child to school, you're expecting that the child is protected in school, but then you don't know what's happening there. So you would like to equip some children, in fact, a lot of children, you know, skills where they can protect themselves, what they can do, what they can say, how they can raise alarm that, okay, danger is coming to me, I need to run for help, or I need help around me. How can this be done?
Okay, so I would use myself as an example, right? So, I mean, I've said sexual education, you teach your children what body parts shouldn't be touched.
All right.
You teach your children boundaries. You teach your children to talk. So they're equipped, they're aware. And then, so, I mean, and then you also teach your children how to recognize dangerous situations. So they don't have to walk right through the door with that uncle before they know that, okay, this is not right. Right? Like one of the young ladies that open up to us, young girls that open up to us, and then she said, okay, one of them called her into a room. And then she went into the room, right? When he called you into the room, like if you were aware and if you know what to do, you take that action, you take that step and say, okay, uncle, I'm not going in to that room. And then so for me, subconsciously, growing up, I just, based on the advice I had gotten over time, I just really decided that, okay, I mean, this may be off for some people, but I just said, well, I won't visit guys in their houses, right? I mean, alone, because I mean, when you're there, things can happen. Like, we're humans. There's no point forming and saying, okay, this person is, you know, strong. So for me, so I began to, because when you educate young girls and you teach them boundaries, aside that, other people, they also develop their own boundaries as well. That saves them. So what would help a child, you know, maybe different from what may help another child. So there is one of my, you know, mentors, she'll say that for her, nobody told her, like, but she just wouldn't shake guys. Now that may sound very extreme, but it was her own
way
protective mechanism.
Okay.
It was just her own way. I mean, she's happily married now, right?
Yeah.
It didn't stop her from getting married or achieving her dreams, her goals. So it was just her own way of
protecting
herself.
Really.
So So the thing is, teach your child boundaries and ensure that teach them to act on these boundaries. It's not just enough to teach them all these things. Help them apply it, and then so when they're grown, or whatever situation they find themselves, they will put these things to work, right? So that's boundaries. And another thing I would say can help is identify someone you can open up to that is mature, right? Because even as individuals, less even if sexual abuse and all of that, there are things we go through, and then you just need that one person that would understand. That when you talk to the person can literally guide you and clear your head, you know, and say, okay, this is the right way to go. So if you notice that, I just remembered something I'm going to share. And then so if you notice that this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, you're always, as a child, you're always going through a specific route. And then there's always this uncle on your case, you know. Speak to an adult that you trust, you know, that won't judge you, but that will take steps. An example came to mind.
Right.
So while I was in school, right, there was, you know, a particular lecturer that said, "Oh, come to my
office."
Not even office, so come to my apartment, you know, and all of that. And, you know, at that time, I mean, you say, "Oh, have you seen your legs? They look like, you know, those African legs that can..." In my mind, I'm like, what concerns me? And, you know, all of that. So, but thank God I was aware and I was able to, I had like a trusted individual that I could speak with. And then she goes, "Oh, no, this is exactly what is happening." And then stop saying that, man. So if I'm going into class and his office is at a particular place, I know he will see me, right? I would take a different route. Wow. And then, I mean, after a while, it all...
Yeah.
You know,
so it just really pays for, you know, children to be, I like what you said about, you know, parents teaching their children boundaries, but actually teaching them to apply these boundaries. So, you know, it pays for children to be able to know how to negotiate around predators, you know, because predators are dangerous. Yeah. You know, if they don't maybe try and manipulate the child, they can even go as far as physically raping, you know,
and abusing the child,
you know, by beating the child or whatever, assaulting the child sexually. You know, thank you very much, Ramon, for joining us on Tea and Coffee this morning. I learned a lot, and I have to say kudos to what you're doing with your initiative. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.